We can all feel that sense of disappointment. We can sometimes feel disappointed in ourselves, in other people, in situations, circumstances. And that feeling of disappointment, sometimes it can be fleeting. We can have those moments that pass and they do what it's supposed to do. We feel disappointment. It can make us feel a certain way, which then is temporary. And like with all emotions, it prompts change and update within us. But the issue I have is when it becomes lasting, when that heaviness just stays with us, when we become stuck in that sense of disappointment. So what we're going to get into here is we're going to really expose why we can get stuck in that sense of disappointment, and importantly, what we can do about it so this is no longer the case. The Oxford Dictionary defines disappointment as when our hopes, desires, or expectations fail to be realised. And it's those three words all point towards the same thing. Disappointment appears to have an adaptive function. And whether we're disappointed in ourselves, someone else, or circumstances, conceptually they can feel quite different. But for the brain, in many ways, the brain's responding to the same thing. There is a gap between what we expected to happen and what actually happened. So something we anticipated didn't unfold in the way that we thought it would and how our brain had predicted it would. Let's get into how this predictive aspect of the brain works for a moment. This is something we're working with all the time. It's like, for example, we go to reach a doorknob, we go to turn the doorknob and the prediction is, or the expectation is, we know the door will open. We go to boil the kettle because we know that later we'll soon have a cup of tea. These are like really tiny examples of how we operate in prediction all the time. And then other predictions carry a bit more emotional weight to them, say. So we might have an expected outcome about a job, a relationship, the way a certain challenge will go, predicted finish time for races. At some point, we stop imagining these outcomes and we begin expecting them, and we invest in them emotionally, we really buy into them. So they already carry more weight. Because the thing is, reality contains uncertainty. And one of the ways our brain reduces that uncertainty is by predicting what's going to happen next. And disappointment is the cost of reality unfolding differently from what we anticipated. So when reality does unfold differently, the brain notices that mismatch almost instantly because something important has changed. In neuroscience, this is often referred to as prediction error. So this error is flagged up by the brain. It's not gone as expected. And then disappointment is one of the ways that we interpret that difference, that change. So it's there to serve and to help us understand and update our understanding of reality. And when it's trying to interpret the change, and this is where it gets really interesting, it's asking, what does this mean? And it's the answer to that question that helps shape what happens next, basically infects our whole experience of what happens next. So if we think about two people, exact same situation, both have lost their job, so they both have the same experience. Person A and person B both feel that sense of loss, that sudden change, leaving their familiar surroundings and heading out into the unknown. Now, person A, although will be feeling all those sadness, feelings, that heaviness, they're updating in a way and making sense of the change, saying things like, oh, I don't work there anymore. And then over time, that understanding, maybe quite quickly, updates in the brain, and that person's then taking the next required action, looking for a job. Person B, however, has a different experience because a different meaning has been applied. And this time, the disappointment, it sticks because person B makes it a negative personal story about themselves. They make it linked to their identity, maybe saying things like, I'm a failure, I'll never find another job, I'm not good enough. So now the update has shifted from being about the situation and has become personal in a negative way. And this is why I think it also gets interesting. about disappointment, or any time we're updating and it becomes about identity, because perhaps we are updating things like our expectations about another person, or perhaps we're looking at changes we can make with our own behaviour. We apologise, we pair differently, we might go out and learn a new skill, and we might approach a similar situation differently next time. So in and amongst that, there's some identity-based statements that might come up, but all of these type of updates, they're healthy ones. They're part of learning. We're not getting stuck in a particular negative feeling. Because if this is all part of our learning and we're updating our behaviours, we're questioning our identity, this is how we learn, this is how we evolve and update as humans. This is how we take accountability. We might find more compassion or even more confidence. And we might attribute some positive statements to that. But it's when we create these negative ones around one charged emotion and make that an absolute negative statement about ourselves. Saying things like, I behaved in a way I'm not proud of, is very different to saying, I'm a terrible person. You know, we can be updating our identity over time, proving to ourselves the things we're capable of, and adopting new skills, but we're accumulating evidence to do that, to say I am a confident person, say whatever it is, that positive statement. But over time we accumulate that evidence. The issue is, and the reason why feelings like disappointment stick, is we take that really charged emotion in that one time and make it an absolute that stays with us. We carry that weight. So it's what we do with that observed change. It's how we work with it. One invites learning, the other attacks identity. And the reason why I'm talking to you about this today is just recently I attempted the Three Peaks Challenge. Well, I completed the Three Peaks Challenge. And although at the time when I stood at the base of the mountain, I'd completed it within the set time, I felt lasting disappointment, and it stayed with me over a week. And it was because I was making it about identity. Maybe I wasn't as capable as I believed. Maybe I hadn't trained enough. Without realising it, I'd gone from updating the information about what had happened, the real data, and made it personal, made it about who I believed I was. And they're two very different things. So this is what we can do about it in those moments that we're feeling disappointment, so it doesn't become that lasting disappointment. First off, we don't avoid it. So it's not dismissing the feeling, it's fully acknowledging it. So we might have those feelings of sadness, grief, regret, frustration. We feel those feelings, acknowledge them, and it's knowing that those emotions aren't there to punish us, although they don't feel nice, but we understand at the same time that they are information, they are messengers. They're helping us recognise that something important has changed. And when we allow ourselves to experience these emotions, not dismiss them, we're then allowing the brain to update. When we allow ourselves to fully experience those emotions and we don't make it into an opportunity for self-criticism, we turn inward or turn on ourselves, we're beginning to give our brain accurate information about what happened. So we're trying to stay as best we can factual about what's happened, acknowledging our body response, emotional response, and that new information about the change then updates us, updates our understanding of the situation, updates our expectations, our behaviour. We learn, we may prepare differently, we may go and seek a new skill. We learn and we update. So next time disappointment shows up, perhaps we don't make it personal. Perhaps we become curious, start asking questions like, what prediction didn't happen here, or what change is my brain noticing? What is it inviting me to update? Is it my expectations, my behaviour? Or if we do slip into those absolute statements about identity in a negative way, clocking those, noticing those and going, oh, hang on a minute, have I just made this a conclusion about who I am? And then in this way, we're allowing disappointment to update your overall understanding of what's gone on, that change, and you've not made that one single moment define your identity. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you've experienced anything similar where you may have made it a little bit more personal, had that bit of self-criticism, it'd be wonderful to chat about it in the comments below. And it's been great to have you here. Thank you so much. So if you've enjoyed the video, if you don't mind hitting a like, that would be amazing. And also, if you'd like more, please stick around and maybe subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.